I had a banana before I got on, so I'm good.
Oh, sounds great.
I'm Aaron Meyer. You're listening to the 19.9 podcast. Today we're talking to Leigh Ellis of No Dunks and the Starters about his new venture that combines travel and basketball.
Yeah, well, look, two of my passions in life have been basketball and traveling. And basically, anytime I've traveled, those two have twined. Something sort of sparked something in me where I thought, I wonder if there is something to this where I can potentially, do this as a career.
Welcome to the 19.9 podcast. We've got a special guest today. We've got Leigh Ellis, who's known as the International Man of Mystery, and he's becoming even more international with his latest venture. So we're excited. If you don't know of him, we'll get to know him a little bit and talk about his new venture and all the things that he's done in the NBA and basketball world, just creating that culture that we like to talk about so much. So I'm going to throw it over to Robert just to get us started today.
Yeah, we just want to first start off. Tell us about how it all got started. I listened to the story, and I think it's awesome. So just go ahead and share with our audience how it all started.
Yeah, well, look, two of my passions in life have been basketball and traveling. And basically, anytime I've traveled, those two have twined. And in the last couple of years when I've traveled to Europe, I was in Barcelona this summer, and I was in Berlin the summer before that, and a few other countries in between. I'd find a court and I'd just start playing, and my son or my wife would start shooting it. And there was no real reason to shoot it other than just, hey, just shoot this and see what happens. And then I would put it up on social media, and I got a really solid response both time, or every time I've done it, like shockingly good response. People say, oh man, that's awesome. And so my messages just got flooded with people saying, man, if you're in my city, if you're in my town, come on out, we'll play, and I'll organize and all that. And something sort of just sparked something in me where I thought, I wonder if there is something to this where I can potentially, do this as a career. I've had an incredible time podcasting, being on TV, talking about basketball, and it's great. Now, as I still love the game, but it's sort of one of those things that it's in the back of your mind, and you're like, the curiosity is like, I wonder if I could do this. I mean, if it's legit that people seem to love it and they are actually asking me to come and play, well, I'm going to now sort of put the pressure back on the fans and say, all right, I'm coming. You have to sort of back up your word now. And that's kind of what happened. And, again, in the last probably, month or so, or probably a bit longer than that, 2 or 3 months, as I sort of flushed the idea out a bit more, wrote some things down, looked at some other people who have had a lot of success in terms of social media, making a career out of it. I thought, well, no one's really doing this. And look, it's not about me trying to make a late push to get drafted in the NBA. I want to get that out there. This is not, look, this is not about me trying to become, like a professor or anyone like that, a street ball legend, Hot Sauce and those guys. It's about fun. It's about playing. It's about, meeting
Not
people.
that you'd be against that, right? If you became a street ball legend.
Listen. Look, the Lakers can always use a shooter, right? So
that's right. Clearly, 22%.
I'm not trying to make the NBA, but of course, if someone says you want to come and sit on the bench, I'm going to do it. But
yeah,
the truth is,
shot doctor too,
Exactly. I mean, I'm not. It's not about me trying to, create some street ball legendary. It's about fun. It's about interaction. It's about meeting people. It's about travel, exploration, discovery, and all those things that throughout my life. I mean, I was, born and raised in Australia. I went backpacking for 6 weeks about 25 years ago, and I never went home to live. And so now I'm just like, well, why not? Why not give it a shot? See where it takes me. And I'm really, really excited by it. I'm honestly exhilarated by the unknown, which is, I don't know if it's going to work or not. I don't know. Yeah. I left a very comfortable job, a fun job, an incredible job, but at some point, I just knew that I had, the timing was never going to be right. These sorts of things, you have to kind of jump into them head first. And that's what I decided to do.
That's great. One of the things I've been noticing is that you're playing a lot outside. So growing up, did you play outside? Because we've talked about that a lot and kind of lamented the loss of the playground atmosphere for basketball. Like so much is structured now where they've got a coach in a gym and you're doing certain drills and everybody's the same age. And so there's something about that we kind of feel like has been lost maybe a little in the United States. I wonder what it was like in Australia and if that's something that you hope you can bring back a little bit too, that enthusiasm to play outside.
That's 100% true for a couple of things there. I don't play any of these games at an indoor gym because there are beautiful gyms all around the world. There's no doubt about it. But to me, it's not anything too. The ambience is just different there. I want to play on the streets. I want to play where there's graffiti on the wall and the ring's a bit wonky and, the court's got cracks and things like that. Because to me, that is what playing on the street has been. That's what I've done in various countries, in Peru and in Mexico and Brazil. And I've played, and there's just a different atmosphere with outdoor basketball. And when I grew up, we had a rim in our neighbor's driveway, which was funny because I remember when they put it up and the neighbor said, listen, anytime you want to come out and play, just do it. And I literally took them up on that. I played to the point where they moved out. They sold the house a few years later. But the thing was with that court, it wasn't even a court, it was a driveway. But whenever, my friends or my brother's friends or people in the neighborhood were walking past, if they saw me, they would come along and shoot. We would have games. I remember sometimes on a Sunday afternoon, there might be 15 or 20 kids playing there. And you drink the water out of the hose when it wasn't your game as well, like all those sorts of things. And so, I've just found that really that bond that I felt back then as a kid, it really has been the same wherever I've played, where you don't necessarily know everyone all that well. You don't need to speak the same language because basketball is what brings us together. You don't need to explain the rules. You don't need to say, well, we're doing this or doing that. I mean, there are slight variations as far as sometimes it's 2s and 1s and it's up to 10 or 15 or whatever, you win by 2. But for the most part, you turn up to a court and if there's 3 other people there, then you've got a 2-on-2 and it's just great. It's really good competitive stuff. And, it just, for me, it's very exciting.
Now, as a guy from Indiana, when we traveled to Florida, we had to explain to them that we weren't going to play 2-3 zone. Like we're playing man-to-man defense. no 2-3 zone. So there's some nuance. I know what you're saying, but there's some nuance in the game that I have to communicate. Like I'm got to shake some people off.
Or the no blood, no foul.
And look, and that those sorts of things you sort of that I always feel when you turn up to someone else's court, you play by their rules. You never say, well, we play it this way. It's like you're turning up to someone's house for a party. You don't say, well, put this music on or we're drinking this tonight or whatever. I mean, you're a guest, and so you follow their lead there. But the thing is there, Indiana has a reputation, Florida has a reputation, and when they come together, if it's in Florida, okay, it's Florida rules. But guess what? If they go to Indiana, then they're playing by your rules, and that's the way it should be.
There you go.
Well, tell me about like where you got the idea for the number. So it's 20 cities. You're going to different countries. You're going to get these games going. So why the number? Just because it's a round number, or is there like a storytelling behind it? And then what's your hope to like continue beyond this, or is this kind of a capsule that you're
no, I mean, look, honestly, the number started at 50 when I first said it to my wife, and then even I thought like, I like challenges. I like things that are, they're going to be tough to overcome. And I thought, 50 is a big ask at the start. Look, there's 197 countries in the world, I believe. So, and look, you can take a few out. Obviously, I'm not going anywhere near Russia, et cetera, right now. But the point is, I'm not going to run out of games and courts and cities and countries. So if this does go well, and obviously I hope it does, and maybe someone else comes on board in terms of financing it and providing the resources and things like that, then it'll just continue. I mean, this will be my career if it goes that way. And I've had some interesting messages and things so far, but I think nobody's come up with any money or anything like that right now. But I think what's happening is there's enough interest out there already that people are probably waiting to see how these first 4 countries go, and if there's something there and there's some good traction and engagement with my audience, then hopefully someone will be able to come in and help me, because there's no doubt it's a huge undertaking trying to basically organize it all, shoot it all, arrange all the travel and accommodation, organization, then edit it and put it out on social and make it good, engaging content. I mean, there's a ton there, but I just feel that it's one of those things. It's like any other startup. I mean, I just came from working from The Athletic, who 7 years ago, two guys came in.
What a
and
crazy
said,
idea, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I can't imagine their friends weren't like, guys, what are you talking about? People aren't going to pay for sports content, and they
Right.
turned it into a multi-million-dollar business. So there's no doubt it's a challenge there. But I'm also not putting that pressure on myself where it has to go perfectly from day one, because it simply won't. There's going to be a lot of learning. There's going to be missteps. There's going to be things that I get wrong and screw up. But I just feel that, again, that happens in life anyway. So why not do it chasing something that you really, really enjoy anyway, rather than just doing the same old mistakes that you've made for years.
Well, you're off to a good start with the GOAT commentator doing one of your trailers, because I was pretty pumped to hear his voice.
Well, Bo is great, and I've done some work with him in the past, and it was funny. I got a message from him just a couple of days ago, or I guess it was now over a week ago. He sent me a message and said, all the best if there's anything I can ever do for you. And I said, well, you know what, Bo, it's funny actually. I might get you to do something. So that's the other thing. If anyone messaged me and says, hey, can I help out? I'm pretty much going to say, sure, you can. I'll give you something to do here. But and look, I mean, those sorts of things as well. For me, that's how you learn about what works and what's a hit with the audience and things. Yeah. And I'm just going to try all sorts of things. You should see this doc that I've got with all these potential content ideas. Some of them are crazy. Some of them, no doubt, won't work and won't happen. But I just feel now is the best opportunity to try things and see what works. And when I referenced before some of the other content creators on YouTube and Instagram and things like that who have got, millions and millions of followers. Well, there's no doubt that at the start, they didn't imagine they were going to get that big. They just did stuff and it worked and they keep doing it. And so, I hope to, be able to engage an audience. And if I am, then things like revenue will be created and it'll be great.
You never know what videos will go viral and all of a sudden your fan base will just blow up. I mean, me personally, if I was on Netflix or, Amazon Prime and I saw something like you're doing, like I'm a basketball junkie, right? So if I can see what's going on in different countries to pick a place, I mean, I would be interested. I would want to check it out for sure.
And that's what I'm hoping that people at Netflix and Amazon Prime and Apple Plus and HBO Max and Hulu and anyone else out there who's listening. I mean, I look, I'll be honest. I mean, that's what I am. That's what I'm hoping. I mean, look, I said this on the show too, on my final show on the No Dunks with the guys there. The primary purpose of this is not, I want to do this to make money. I mean, I want to do it to have fun, to try this challenge and to see if I can. I mean, ultimately, yes, I do want to generate revenue and I want it to be able to, be able to pay my bills. But the primary motivation here isn't like, I've got to make money from day one. I mean, as I said before about us being a startup, you start in a bit of a hole. There's camera equipment that I've bought. And, there's a lot of upfront expenses that you have to wear at the start. But again, if the content gains traction with my audience and people do think there's something to it, then the money will follow. And that's why I'm not putting too much pressure on myself from day one to be perfect. It's like, I just need somebody to believe in the idea and then they can help me, showcase it, because I don't want to reveal too many details, but I've already got sort of legs 2 and 3 distantly planned out, because I got so many people messaging me after the show ended and then after I released that first video, where I'm like, okay, if I can just sort of get those ones moving after this first set, then I really feel I'm going to have some momentum going. But my focus right now is just on the first 4 countries, which starts next week.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's awesome. Well, now you got me excited. So is there a pickup story that you have? You don't have to include it from the ones that are upcoming, but it could have been one of the ones that inspired you to kind of go down this journey. Like what was it that, because travel for me, in the places that I've been is something that kind of helps propel your life anyways, right? You go someplace, right, puts you in a different headspace. So, and inevitably I end up playing basketball because it's also something I love and being there. So I love the combination and the concept of this. So was there a story that kind of coalesced the two of those things for you?
I mean, probably this story wasn't the one that really just made me decide to do it. But I love telling the story about in Berlin last year. It was at a flea market on Sunday afternoon. We just had lunch. My family, we were walking through. I didn't even know there was a court there. There were these guys playing. This guy smoking like a bifter while he's playing out there. you know, and it's on my Instagram. He's got the Tracy McGrady throwback. Is it Tracy McGrady or Penn? I can't. Anyway, it's Orlando #1. And, you know, this guy is like smoking away, but he's out there playing. He's dribbling under his legs and behind his back. And his name was Sonny. And I mean, that just to me shows that, again, he wasn't out there, you know, doing Steph Curry stuff, hitting shots from 20 feet away or anything like that. He just loved the game. He was there. It was a beautiful day. There was other people just milling around. Another person joined the game. And that's what I love about it, is that it just it breaks all barriers. You know, it doesn't matter where you're from, what, you know, religion you believe in, what, you know, it's like, if you love basketball and there's a court and there's a game and you look and you can see, say there's an odd amount of players, say there's 3 or 5 or whatever, and you want to play, everyone's like, yeah, come and play, because we need even numbers here. No one, I've never been on a court that I can ever remember where someone said, go away, we don't want you to play. You might have to wait a game or two, but no one's ever been said, no, don't play. It's like, come on in, play, and let's have some fun. And that's the thing, is then, you know, quite quickly you're trying to maybe set a screen for each other, you're rebounding, you're passing the ball, because that teamwork, we all understand, if you've played any team sport, is you've got to work together. And so it doesn't, no one's like, hang on a minute, you know, do you like the Lakers or the Rockets? If you're a Lakers fan, I don't want to play with you. You know,
you're out.
Everyone's everyone's just like, let's play a game that we love here and let's try to win. And ultimately, again, it's not even about, you don't walk off the court in those situations like, yes, I won. You know, like, yeah, I'm a hero. You walk off having shared the experience and the enjoyment of playing the game. And look, winning's always more fun, but it's not like, oh man, I lost pickup basketball with strangers today. I can't go on with my life, you know. So, and I guess the other to answer your question, so we went to Egypt in the summer too. My family and I took our sons down there, and I was coming back via Italy. And I was in Rome for a few days, and I was in Florence for a few days. And so I put an Instagram story up, and I said, I'm going to be in Florence on this day. If anyone wants to tell me if there's a pickup game, let me know and I'll come and play. And the crazy thing about that post was that was one of my most engaged stories I've ever posted. You know, thousands and thousands of people saw it, and you know, quite a few people responded. No one in Florence actually said, hey, come and play, but people from everywhere else, in Greece and Portugal and Spain, and, you know, everywhere else said, come and play here, and I'm like, you know, you want to write back and say, okay, can we focus here? Let's get to Florence first. But anyway, as it turned out, someone in Barcelona said, come and play in Barcelona. I went and played there, and it was just great. It was exactly what I was hoping for, that, you know, I would turn up, play, make some friends, and some fun. And that's what it ultimately, basketball was for me as a kid, and it still is.
That's great.
Yeah, basketball is definitely just one of those games that brings the joy out. You know, it doesn't matter how old you are, it just makes it fun. I know I'm nothing like where you've been, but we went on a cruise for a honeymoon, right? Like a 7-day cruise. I didn't even know they had a court on the cruise ship, but my wife was like, I'm laying out, and I was like, hey, there's a basketball court. I'm going to go get, you know, I didn't know great shoes with me. I was like, I'm going to get some shoes, and I'm going to go up there. I mean, I think I went up there like 4 out of the 7 days we were there. She's like, you win? I'm like, no, but it was fun. Like, I won some games, but I was like, it was just fun. Like, because everybody that was playing up there, I mean, if you're playing on a cruise ship, that means you love basketball, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you just go out there to play, right? Yeah. So, you know, just the fun of just meet new people, and, you know, like you said, just the teamwork, and, you know, everybody just, you know, hanging out. You know,
and the fact that it's on a cruise ship just shows you how global the sport is. You know, I mean, because you know, soccer, football, you know, there's usually a soccer ball pretty much anywhere you go, and I think basketball is pretty much the next ball. And you know what, even if there isn't a basketball, if there's a soccer ball, you can shoot that around on the hoop there as well. So you know, I think it is one of those games, like, you know, boys, girls, men, women, everybody can sort of play basketball. It's not like, well, this is not a game that kids can play or anything like that. I mean, I have a couple of kids, there's some kids in the neighborhood, and I love just going out there playing and passing around and trying to get them to understand how teamwork is. Like, well, if you pass to your teammate and then you run inside, he might pass to you, get an easier shot. And those sorts of things can translate across any boundary, any country with people, because you understand ultimately the purpose is to try to get the best shot you can. And so you pass the ball and you move around, and it makes it easier that way.
Well, you mentioned the No Dunks guys, and, you know, you've been with them. So you were on NBA TV with the starters, and before we were on the Basketball Jones too, kind of during that time too as well, right?
That's right. Towards the end, yes.
Yeah, for a long time. So what has the transition been like? Because I think that's always a fascinating time in life. Like, you have this thing that you're excited about, but closing the book on something that was so successful and such a big part of your life can be different. And are you following the NBA? Or are you just looking at maps these days?
Yeah, that I mean, that's why it wasn't an easy decision. It wasn't like I just decided, oh yeah, who cares? I'm not going to miss this, or I don't care about. And I've had to make. And yeah, we started in Canada. We moved all down to Atlanta together nearly 10 years ago. We were on NBA TV for 6 years, and the last 3 years at the Athletic. And so, yeah, I as the decision became clearer and clearer to me, I thought, wow, I'm not going to be a part of that team anymore and that group. And we've gone through so many experiences together. And look, I don't think that's the end either. I have a feeling I'll probably be on one of the shows at some point again, talking about the travel and the trips and things like that. So it's not like we're not friends or anything like that. It was just, honestly, I just felt like I wanted to try something different, and I didn't have to think about what that was. I mean, it wasn't like I sort of sat down and said, well, if I don't do the show anymore, what am I going to do? This idea just kind of like forced itself upon me to the point where I was like, if I don't try this now, I might be sitting here in a year's time wondering what it could have been. And so in order to take a big step like this, I realized that there was a big compromise, a big sacrifice as far as you have to kind of move on from that show. And that's the thing. I obviously, don't have any hostility or anything like that. I wish the guys all the best, and I'll be following along still. But it just, for me, was time to try something different. And look, when I started doing the podcast in Toronto, and we moved down here for the TV show, I thought, well,
I'll
do this
challenge too,
oh,
right? Like,
huge,
gosh,
huge. And I thought I'll probably do this for the rest of my life, because who wouldn't? But once you've been doing it, and look, I did 11 years, and I don't even know how many podcasts and other shows we did. Like well over 2,000, maybe even closer to 3,000 in total when with all the other things combined. And so I sort of said to myself, like, it's okay to want to do something else. I didn't want to beat myself up for saying, well, people would love to have your job, because I'm sure they would, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily right for you right now. And so the decision, I didn't feel too much anxiety about the decision once it became clear to me that I thought, well, if you want to do this, then you have to basically give up one to do.
Yeah.
Give this a shot. And, I mean, again, it's not like I have to talk myself into what's coming up in these next few weeks. It's going to be a wild ride. There's going to be highs and lows and ups and downs. And I've been checking the weather in all the cities that I'm going to play.
Oh yeah, no kidding. The weather.
I mean, because as long as it's not raining, it'll be fine. I don't care. I mean, it's coming out of summer, of course, so it's going to be cooler. But I don't care. I'll play in cold temperatures. In fact, I'd rather play in cold temperatures than what we get here in Atlanta, where it's just so hot and humid. Yeah. It's just if it's raining, like even a little bit of light rain's okay, but if it starts pouring down anywhere, I mean, that's obviously going to make it troublesome. But
I don't know. I've seen a guy. There's a guy, speaking of Instagram. There's a guy on Instagram somewhere in Africa that has like his own shoot away that he's made, and I've seen his videos promoted pretty heavily. So you might just want to do a pouring rain. Yeah, do a pouring rain one. That might be on your agenda.
You know what? Oh, that's the other thing about the authenticity of it. It's like, hey, I'm here to play basketball. It's pouring rain. Yeah. I'm still playing basketball, and because again, it's I've lived in Toronto where we get minus 55,000 degrees. So it's not going to be that cold anywhere I go. It might be a little bit chilly, but I mean, rain's the only one that can just kind of. The problem with rain is other people who might be wanting to come along are just like, all right, I'm not leaving the house to go and play with this guy. So,
yeah, Greece will be nice, I'm sure.
Yeah, so, I mean, like all of them, like I say, they're still just coming out of the tail end of summer, so it shouldn't be too bad. But we'll see.
Yeah,
I did have a question.
Are you still excited about the NBA or following that at all?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously, I'm not following it as closely as I have done for the last 11 years. I mean, because my focus right now is trying to have all my, things lined up for this big trip. And so I've been, putting all the videos together. Then I've been communicating with people about getting courts available and who's going to be there, trying to book hotels and accommodation and travel and all those sorts of things. So that takes up so much of your time. And again, above all of this, I'm a father and a husband first. So, when my boys come home from school, I want to play with them. And I don't just want to be like, I must be locked in. So, but look, I know the Lakers are 0-4 right now. I mean, just by virtue of the fact that I'm still on Twitter. But the truth is,
we already got you signed up for them. So that's why you're monitoring them.
I don't miss sort of procrastinating about or opining about whether or not the Lakers are good and that stuff I don't miss, to be honest, because I've had those conversations. The Westbrook stuff, it's like, okay, I want to have different conversations. And again, a couple of the things that I don't want to reveal too much because they might not happen, but a couple of things I've got lined up in some of these countries here. If they come off, I'm going to be so excited about it because there's a couple of really good opportunities and possibilities here, but until they happen, nothing means anything. So I'm trying to not get too excited, but I'm optimistic and hopeful that they will come together.
Have you tried to set up a 3-point competition in these other countries so you can get your 20?
I don't know. I don't quite know how to answer that. Let me just say that I don't quite know how to answer it. Without giving away too much. Yeah,
right. I like that even better. That's better. Look, he's trying to break news here.
Yeah,
I was just watching your videos and saw it that you were trying to break it. I thought that was pretty awesome. That to be able to do that and have them record it at the actual place. That would be pretty awesome as a fan.
Yeah, if an opportunity like that presents itself, I'm going to give it a shot. I'll say that. So,
what is, for the people who haven't, been following you for the past few years and maybe are just picking some of this stuff up? There's tons of content on the internet already with Leigh in there that's just entertaining, and so appreciate just all the hours of entertainment you've given me over the years. But what's a story that you just really cherish from your time covering the NBA?
Honestly, I remember saying to my wife when we moved down after a week or two, I was saying, I don't know how long this is going to last. I want to just embrace everything, because when you get a TV show, the funny thing was a lot of people, especially from Australia, said, "Oh, you've made it." And I was like, it feels the opposite like that. It honestly feels like now I have to prove myself every single day. So there was a different pressure there. And the first year was tough. There's no doubt about it. We didn't know what we were doing. It was a big empty studio there, and you're trying to be professional and all that. But then we got a little bit more comfortable. And in those following years after the first year, I grew up in the late, I was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s. And in Australia, the first finals I really followed were the 88 finals, the Lakers and the Pistons. And, I was a Lakers fan, but Isaiah Thomas at 6 foot tall, going out there, beating up the Lakers. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Indiana's own. The thing that inspired me about Isaiah is, even though you're watching on TV, so you can't quite tell exactly, but you can see guys like James Worthy and Magic and Kareem. And then you have Isaiah Thomas, who was as big as, my dad, out there throwing his body on the line and fighting and scrapping. And so I had posters of Isaiah Thomas on my bedroom wall. Any highlights I had, I loved it. There is enough footage out there of Isaiah getting beaten up in the head and the face. And there's the big Karl Malone one. Like, this guy, just tough as anything, put his body on the line. And so 12-year-old me watching that couldn't possibly have imagined that, 30 years later, I would be on the court with Isaiah Thomas, shooting around, talking to him about things that happened in the playoffs, things that he'd forgotten, and I would remind him of about some certain games as well, where he was kind of like, well, was that in game 3 or game 4? I said, no, it was game 3. What are you talking about? Like, if you had told me, 12-year-old me, that one day I would be out there playing one-on-one against Isaiah Thomas, I just couldn't, the NBA and Isaiah may as well have been on Mars back then, because that was just how far away it was. And then that happened in so many other ways, just with guys like Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley, Rolando Blackman, the guy from the 87 All-Star game. I met so many people and players who they were just heroes to me as a kid. But again, it was not local heroes. These were like guys in the United States, which was just so far away in this, this league that we could barely even get coverage of. And so to meet those guys, and then I did the thing with Steph Curry as well, where I shot around with Steph Curry. I mean, I remember watching Del Curry for the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah.
And I remember, hearing about his son Steph coming through Davidson, and people saying, and I saw this guy, and I thought, I wonder if he's going to be a shooter like his dad. And it turned out he was not too bad like his dad. But, all those things that it's funny. I felt all that education I had just helped me out when I got to NBA TV, because I didn't feel like I had to do any research on these guys when they came on. I felt I knew these guys, and I'd read about them in Hoop Magazine and Basketball Digest, and seen them on NBA Action and things like that. And so it was just incredible to actually, be friends of sorts with some of these guys who were like, people that I just couldn't imagine I was going to not only work with, but just sort of see and go on the road with and travel with at times, and talk to Isaiah and chew his ear off sometimes about things that he couldn't even remember. He played so many games, and he'd been beaten up a few times, so maybe he couldn't quite remember everything. But it was an incredible experience, and I treasure it, and I cherished it. And look, when they told us they weren't renewing the contract, obviously it was disappointing and sad, but I sort of knew that day was coming as well. I sort of was prepared for it. And you're like, well, it's that old saying, don't be sad because it's over, be happy because it happened. And that's how I felt, and I still feel today.
Man, that's great.
Well, I got to ask you this question. Hope I'm not putting you too much on the spot. We're working on something on ourselves on a different podcast. And so I don't know how much you watch Magic and Bird. You see a lot of them. So when they came out, if they would have both been drafted the same year and you had the number one pick, who are you taking? It's a very hard question.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably go Magic, I suppose. I mean, they both won 3 MVPs. Larry was clearly the better shooter, better defender. I mean, Magic, certainly not known for his defense, but Magic was the absolutely perfect player for the Lakers Showtime 80s. I mean, the name, the way that he played, he loved Hollywood, because I think for some guys right now, and I think if you look at Brandon Ingram, D'Angelo Russell, there's been others, Lonzo Ball over the years, going into Los Angeles right now as a rookie is just impossible to succeed in that environment. I think
as a Hall of Famer, it's tough. Ask Russell Westbrook.
Well, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think, and that's right. Westbrook is also an experienced player. He's not he's not starting out. And so, for Magic Johnson, you need to have the personality to match something like that. And I mean, that is just exactly what he had. So look, those two players, and along with Michael and Dr. J, what done for basketball in the NBA around the world is something that just will not be repeated, I don't think, because, and this is another thing I talk to people about, like growing up in the 80s, I was a big WWE fan, Hulk Hogan and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And so at the same time, basketball had, Dr. J, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, like guys who seem to have stage names in the basketball world, like it sort of, for me, it intertwined a lot. And then basketball took off, and I moved away from wrestling as I grew up there. But the league and just how global basketball is now. I mean, and there's guys, but certainly guys before those. Michael Jordan talks about David Thompson being his hero and how the game evolves and things like that. But I think it just at the time where David Stern came in as the commissioner, he realized how to market the league better. You got these superstars, and now you have basketball, as big as it is today. So, Larry Bird, though, like his highlights are just some of the shots he made, and there's some of those classic moments like the Game 5 against the Pacers in 1991, where he hits his chin or his cheekbone there. I mean, that is, and the funny thing is, so when I did Pop and Packs, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Oh my God, I love it.
I tried to get Larry Bird on. I've tried to get Reggie Miller on that, because I mean, that series was just an incredible series. Chuck Person saying after Game 3 that for one day at least I was the greatest player in the world, and talking trash to Larry Bird. And then Game 5, like it looks like the Pacers are going to steal it. And then Larry goes down, then he comes back and the Garden goes crazy. And then the Pacers still had a chance right at the end there as well. Chuck Person missed that 3. So, I just, for me, again, when I was that kid in Australia watching this stuff, hoping one day to be able to just attend one NBA game, I remember pestering my dad saying, "Can we go to Los Angeles and watch a game?" And he's like, "We're not flying all the way to Los Angeles just to watch a game." And I remember it was about the same age. I was 15 or 16, and I talked to the career guidance counselor at school, in high school, and I said, "Can I be an exchange student?" And they're like, "Well, what do you?" And I said, "I want to go to Los Angeles, Chicago, or New York." And they said, "Well, you can't just go and watch basketball. Okay, you have to go to school and stuff." And I was like, and again. I talked a big game. I don't know if I would have gone through with it, but I was trying to find any way I could get to America and watch games. And so ultimately my career brought me here anyway, but there was no way of knowing that was going to happen and unfold the way it did.
Yeah. Life has a funny way of sorting that stuff out if you're passionate about it, right?
It does. It does. And I truly believe that I moved to Toronto in 2001 because I wanted to be close to basketball, and the Raptors, I could get into Canada and work there. There wasn't a way I could work in the United States. So the Raptors had a team, and I was like, perfect, I'll go and live there. And Vince Carter was on the team, and I fell back in love with the NBA because I sort of stopped following it. When Jordan retired, they had the lockout in 98, 99 there. I think a lot of people kind of like, just it was an end of an era, even though he came back again. But moving there to Toronto, and then I just like, all right, I'm back in love with everything. So it was great.
That's great. I hope that, talked about popping packs and, some of your other little segments. I hope you bring some of those or have some new ones that come along. I heard about one where each person opens a pack of cards and picks out the best 3 players and tries to make a 3-on-3 team, like kind of just to argue back and forth about that. But I enjoy those little like segments. They have a lot of levity to them too. So,
look, it's funny. I've got a pack right here, because I am gonna take a few on the road. I'm not sure. Yes. I'm not sure exactly how I'm gonna do it, but I am gonna take a few on the road because, again, without revealing too much, I'm optimistic that I might have reason to open these cards at some point down the road there. So
I love that. It's just a fun like break to revisit some of the memories, like you said, like just randomly comes up. We're talking about the Pacers and Larry Bird through Robert's question, so that's part of the fun of it. Well,
that's right.
You go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, like a couple of the guests I had were James Worthy and Ralph Sampson. The Lakers and the Rockets, of course, had a couple of great series there, especially in '86. And I love talking about that stuff where Ralph Sampson hits the big shot, and I think it was Robert Reed who passed the ball to him, and Ralph was saying how Robert Reed takes all the credit for the pass rather than Ralph Sampson hitting the shot. So.
That's so incredible. Well, Leigh, we so appreciate having you on today. We're going to get you out of here with a couple of just run and gun style questions. But before we hit those, tell people where they can find you and follow you on this journey. I know we certainly will be following you, but we want to hear where all the places they can interact with you and maybe even ask you to come on. We have a few international people. I'm always surprised when people overseas are listening to us. So maybe they hear this and think we should have Leigh to our country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If anyone's listening, I'm lucky that on Twitter and Instagram, anyway, it's just my name, LEIGHELLIS. Handles are coming November 14, so I'm hopeful that I'll be Leigh Ellis on that as well. For now, it's like 25 characters, so I'm not going to bother even trying to say what they are. But if you Google me and YouTube me, you'll be able to find it.
Hang on, Leigh. Hey, you froze up, so I want to make sure we get this part in here. So just jumping in on where they can find you.
So yeah, I'm very lucky that I have both my Instagram and Instagram and Twitter handles are just Leigh Ellis, my name, LEIGHELLIS. YouTube handles are apparently coming to YouTube on November 14. Right now, my YouTube page is 25 characters, so I'm not going to try to read that out. But if you Google me, YouTube me. If you go to my Instagram or Twitter, you'll be able to go there to the link. So yeah, jump on there. And look, I'm on TikTok.
Oh, nice.
Well, yeah.
We'll see.
I spoke to somebody who advised me, who said, the best thing you can do is be across the major platforms because it's just going to help your audience. So I'm trying. We'll see how it goes. I mean, as I sort of said earlier, I'm not trying to necessarily become the biggest thing straight away. I'm going to learn and grow and try to focus on the audience I have and try to grow that. And it's not. I'm not trying to become instantly social media famous overnight. It's going to be more slow and steady, but more deliberate. So we'll see. But yeah, if people want to follow along, ask questions, join in, please do. The more the merrier, because ultimately the reason I'm doing this is because of the support I've had from fans over the years, and I'd like to continue that.
Yeah, we're going to try, when you get back to the States after all this international travel, we're going to try to make you come to Indiana to play some basketball.
We can
Yeah,
even
I mean,
make
honestly,
you a French lick.
That's right.
Well, but that's the thing is, I had so many people from the United States also who offered, said, come out here, come out there. And I'm like, I'm not going to ignore the United States for sure.
Yeah.
I want to try to do some sort of series because I know that, there's no shortage of markets out here either. And places in Indiana where I've never been is where I'd love to go. I want to play in a cornfield somewhere,
All right. We can make that happen.
I want people to turn up on a tractor and we're just like, all right, let's play basketball, because as I was saying earlier, there's famous gyms everywhere, but I don't want that. I want the stuff that people haven't seen, that the locals know about, but people outside of the state and the cities don't know about.
Love it. Well, all right. First one here, leading off. What's your favorite place to watch a basketball game?
Wow, that's a great question. My favorite place to watch a game. I mean, I really have enjoyed the standing room only that we've had down in Atlanta. Me and the guys have been to, because one thing I don't like about when you go to any sort of sporting event is if you sit next to someone for the entire game, you've got one conversation, maybe two, depending on if you got someone either side of you. Whereas standing room, it's a little bit more interactive, where you can move around a little bit, you can get your beers. So I enjoy that atmosphere. I don't need to be sitting, in a chair watching the game up close. I'd rather just be in a situation where it's more social than necessarily sitting down to watch it. So, but that also goes back to my cricket days, following cricket and Australian rules football. It was always more fun when you could stand with your friends, have a few beers, talk, and then you just move throughout the crowd as the game goes on.
Like the student section there.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. It's a bit cheaper, those seats too. So
yeah, for sure. All right. What's your favorite basketballism or saying that you've come across?
Well, it has to be confidence, baby, confidence by Rolando Blackman. I mean, that ultimately, changed my life. Rolando Blackman hitting those 2 free throws in 1987. And I had a hat made with it. I don't know where it is. I was looking for that hat the other day and I lost it. So if a New Era is listening and they want to make some more hats, let's get them going. But yeah, I mean, confidence, baby, confidence just means so much to me. And at the time when it happened, I didn't know it was going to have the impact it did. And I've met Rolando, we've talked. It's just incredible. So, confidence, baby, confidence is it means everything to me in my basketball journey.
What's your favorite place that you've played so far?
That's another great question. I mean, the place I talked about in Barcelona and Berlin were fantastic, but really it was probably in Brazil where I played on this beach town in Paraty. It was a city about 4 hours south of Rio. When I was about 23, I'd had a few drinks in the afternoon with a friend of mine, a few caipirinhas, and we decided to go for a walk, and we saw a court there, and I just started shooting around, and I was in flip-flops and t-shirt and a bit boozed up there, and I started playing, and then a few other people turned up, and I actually started beating the locals, and they didn't love it, and they eventually beat me, and it was also my cue to sort of get out of there. So it was, I mean, that's actually what I think about now. That was the first time I really played, just turned up on a court, played, and I had fun. And so that was probably, I'm planning something for Brazil and Argentina at some point, and I'm going to try to find that court. I'm not sure I'll be able to. It was 23 years ago or something now, but I know the town I was in, I know the area I was in, and I'm going to see if someone can help me find that court, because it'd be great to go back there and play where it kind of all began.
Well, Leigh, thank you again for coming on. I hope that you'll let us catch up with you somewhere down the line after you become the international man of mystery and a YouTube sensation. But everyone, I would encourage everyone just to follow along. This guy, again, has provided me with a ton of entertainment over the years. Just a genuine guy, like he said, family guy. And I promise that you'll laugh and feel a part of the basketball culture, which is what we're going for too.